Hey guys, Jay Norton here once again, and this is kind of a emergency filming situation. Well, it's not really an emergency, but today the buzz has been going around the internet on Reddit, LinkedIn, Facebook, and stuff like that. That the government they've not officially announced it, but the word going around is that the permanent residency visa requirements are changing again. And I just want to make that clear again, because they have changed a few times already. Recently, I think they changed to 10 years requirement, stuff like that. Japanese level, I think, is going to become a factor soon. You need the N2. I believe that's the case anyway. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because today's video is about what's going to change in the future from next April, I believe. And we've seen visa changes with the business management visa fees going up. Japan is cracking down hard on these visas, and the permanent residency visa changes are changing so wildly. I guess wildly compared to what they used to be. And I'm sorry if this is going to look professional and silly, but I'm not going to bother editing it. Why? Because I don't want to sift through the video and cut out me swallowing. So I'm sorry, you're going to get it as it is, because I've only got a 29-minute break before my next lesson, and I just want to get it out today at 11 p.m. So the changes are as follows. So under the new revised guidelines, the the annual income, is to be in excess of the average for a Japanese household, as well as projected pension benefits equivalent to those the applicant would receive after 30 years of enrollment in an employee's pension program at that income level. If the projected pension benefits fall short, applicants will be able to meet the threshold by making up the difference with savings and other assets. Now, that's going to sound a bit complicated on the face of it, so I'm going to break it down. However, I'm going to break it down, but because it's not an official announcement yet, it might not sound like it makes a whole lot of sense because the wording is a bit ambiguous. For example, it says the income is to be in excess of the average for a Japanese household. Now, that could mean different things. For example, the average Japanese person at this moment makes an average annual income of 4.7 million yen, which, to be honest, is basically going to exclude basically all English teachers in Japan. It's going to exclude people who work in factories, on farms, in blue collar jobs, most of them, a lot of even office jobs. Basically, 4.7 million yen is the equivalent to about 330,000 yen plus 2 to 3 months bonuses a year. Or if you get no bonus, 4 million yen, 400,000 yen a month. Now, it does not specify a few things. It does not specify whether it means gross or net pay. And the wording actually says the average of a Japanese household. Now, the average, I think, Japanese household income is, I think, 7.7 or 8 million yen. So, does that mean if you are married to a Japanese national and your combined income is more than that of a Japanese household, does that count, for example? So this is where it's getting a little bit, it's a little bit ambiguous. It's hard to know exactly what it means. The other thing is that it says it doesn't say national or location based. I'm going to guess it means national because, and this is where I think a few people are a bit like up in arms for the wrong reasons, because they're saying a person who lives, like, if it's local, then a person who lives in maybe Shikoku will have a harder time getting the permanent residency because the salaries in Shikoku are lower. But actually, also the average income for Shikoku would be lower. The average income for Minatoku is 18 million yen. So you would be screwed if if that was. And actually, it doesn't actually 100% specify average or median. The median is a little bit higher. No, the median is a little bit lower than the average, I believe. So if you are an English teacher in Japan, you gotta get a better job. I'm sorry. I got my permanent, and it's always difficult because I got my permanent residency visa 5 years ago, also. So, as somebody who already has permanent residency, it's not fair for me to say you gotta get a better job. However, I did have more than the average Japanese income back when I got permanent residency visa, so I would have been fine anyway. And I had N2, and I'd been married for about 5 years at that time. So I would have met the new requirements as it was. The second requirement is about the pension. Now, it says equivalent to those the applicant would receive after 30 years of enrollment. Now, some people are thinking, oh, you need to have 30 years worth of pension. No, that's not what it's saying. However, there are some points that you do need to look at. 30 would receive after 30 years of enrollment in an employee's pension program. Now, this is where it's going to get challenging. Basically, if you're self employed, you're done for. I'm self employed now. However, I'm lucky I've got assets and a lot of assets. So I would be fine. But I did have an employee's pension for about 11 years. And because I made more than 10 million yen a year, my pension payments were very high. So an employee's pension is when you work for a company and your employer contributes half, and then you also pay half. If you're self-employed, only you pay, and you pay like the minimum amount. Like, since I became self-employed, I only pay about 21,000 yen a month. So it's very, very low. Whereas if you're on the employee's pension, I think the payment it's salary based, but it's going to be 60, 70, 80,000 yen. It's much, much higher. Now, if you are self-employed, this is where you should be doing things like ideco, which is like a tax deducted pension scheme. You can't withdraw the money until you are 65. However, the money that you put in the pension also grows. So if you are self-employed and you don't have an ideco, you're going to be screwed. What this does mean though, if you are, of course, everyone's from another country, but if you are from the US, for example, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to work in the US for 5 years, I'm going to save as hard as I can, I'm going to eat, ramen for 5 years and save all those beautiful American dollars, and then bring that money to Japan, you're probably going to be fine because the dollars are going to amass and it's going to be a good amount. But you don't need to have that big money. If you don't meet what would look like the match of an employee's pension, you need to be able to make up the shortfall with assets. How much is your house worth? How much is your car worth? How much do you have in stocks in your NISA? If you don't have a NISA, you got to start building your NISA. Even if you come to Japan and you're only spending 5,000 yen a month on your NISA, after 10 years, that's at least going to, I hope you would increase it over 10 years. You've got to start building that up. Now, this is where people are getting up in arms because what they're saying is Japan is trying to keep people out. That's not really the case. If we're looking at realistically, there are almost 1 million people in Japan with permanent residency already, and what they're saying is they want to make sure people can provide and secure their future in a safe way without having to rely on the country to provide for them. And what they said is there are a lot of people who get permanent residency and then just end up on seikatsuhogo, which is on welfare. Now, I don't know the numbers of how many people are doing that, but apparently there are enough people that it makes the country concerned. And it's not like it's a rare case. There are other countries that also, like for example, if I want to take my wife to the UK, we have to have a ton of money, like a lot of money, just in cash that we take and we cannot even touch because we have to make sure that we are financially secure without having to rely on help. And Japan is kind of doing the same thing here. They want to make sure that you are contributing to get a pension, because if you're not really contributing to a pension, you are going to be taking a lot from the government. For example, if you are self-employed, as I mentioned, paying just 20,000 yen a month for pension, and you don't do ideco and you don't do NISA, I think it's about 80 or 90,000 a month you would get in pension in the future. That is not very much. And they cannot be sure that you would be able to survive on that. Of course, if you had the assets, which they're also looking for, that would contribute. However, as it is looking, they are kind of closing the door on permanent residency for a lot of people. Before, I think they said you needed like a minimum of 3 million yen. Again, you have to live in Japan for 10 years. If you're married, I think they're increasing it from 3 to 5 years. The visa you need has to be a 5 year visa. Is it is it good for everybody who wants to get permanent residency? Maybe not necessarily. It might not. If you are hoping to become a permanent resident, you might be feeling upset. Is it fair for the Japanese people who are also contributing? It might look a little bit fairer for them. It might, at the end of the day, if we want to look at this realistically, the country has to make sure that it's getting enough money to support everyone. And if it looks like there's enough, and again, this is on Reddit and stuff, you see people like, oh, people are going to stop coming to Japan. Like, there are more people in Japan than ever from other countries. Like, they're always breaking records, so there's always people willing to come here. The difference is it's how people are going to stay here. And realistically, if you've been living in Japan for 10 years and you haven't been able to achieve the average Japanese salary, like, what can I tell you? What have you been doing? That means you haven't been able to get yourself to that level. And I think that's something that people need to realize is maybe they're going to have to put a bit more into it. So I just wanted to describe the changes, talk a little bit about the changes. Please let me know your thoughts down below. Maybe you think I'm a dickhead for thinking that people should maybe have a little bit more of a strict application process. And I'm sorry if that upsets you, but also, one day it was going to come. This was going to happen one day. Japan was very, very loose with its visas and its permanent residency for a long, long time, and the door was always going to close one day. So sorry about that. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you next time.